Hey, Kilted Warrior here. Hope you're having a great day. This will be a quick update of my two early access builds, in that of the Battlerager Fire Barbarian and the Stormborn Sorcadin. Before I start, I want a quick shout out to viewer Roman5, who noted it may be better to take the Barbarian to level 5 or 6 before going fighter. Currently as it stands, I've taken my main character to level 10 as a Stormborn, and Karlach uses my Battlerager build. I've yet to complete the game, but I've put 60 hours in with these builds, and I felt it was only fair to update the builds now, as there are some changes. Stormborn Sorcadin. This build remains mostly the same with a few changes and considerations. So the original video I will link and is still valid, especially if you just want to hear about the story and lore background, as well as some companion suggestions with lots of details, so check that out if you're interested. Anyway, the biggest change here is that I've added in one level of Cleric War Domain. As with its War Priest points, you can get an extra attack in the works with Divine Smite, so you can get off effectively 3 smites per turn. Of course, by doing this you'll miss out on the level 5 Sorcerer spell, but you gain some great cantrips for a party face in return with Thaumaturgy, which gives you advantage on intimidation and performance checks. Since your Oath of Vengeance, you'll be doing a lot of intimidation. Also, you get that bonus action heal that they all get, and can pick a few first level spells from the cleric list. Of course, your Paladin Smite and your Sorcerer spells will be your main spell slot usage, but having lots of options is at the core of this build. That said, remember to take the spell Sanctuary, because it is very helpful to have it if there's a problem. This is great if an enemy manages to get close to Gale, for example, as Sanctuary prevents targeting. That said, there is one caveat with the War Cleric, and it may be intended or a bug. So the War Priest action, that is using your War Priest points, seems to like to go before your bonus action, in this case level 5 Paladin. So though you're getting your 3 attacks per turn, remember that you're going to burn through your Warrior Priest points quickly. I hope this is a bug, because it would be better if it was after your extra attack. That said, I worked out a slight workaround to make sure you don't waste your points. If it's a weak enemy, for example, what you can do is use a bonus action of any type, such as shove, after your first attack. That will prevent you from using your War Priest points, and then your next attack will just be your normal extra attack. Therefore you don't waste any of those War Priest points. This is actually quite good when you have a range or reach weapon, like say a glaive as I was using, because it means you just push them back a bit and then you can easily get them back into range for your next attack. Another point is that your Heart of the Storm seems to not affect allies, so no need to worry about accidentally jolting Karlach every time you cast a spell in melee. As for spells, I do suggest getting Shield for one of the best reactions in the game, and Counter Spell. It will make you very hard to kill, and you can spend your spell slots to prevent really powerful melee attacks, or if you also have Gale with Counterspell, you will never have to deal with Fireball spam again. As for the Oath of Vengeance, it is more or less as expected, with Vow of Enmity being great if you're wanting to give yourself advantage against those hard to hit enemies. And Hunter's Mark is a great tool to increase your damage further, though I suggest you get the helmet in the Grimforge that will give you it for free, so no wasting spell slots. And finally, Tempestuous Magic. It's nice for allowing flight, as you will be getting a spell off and then you can use your bonus action to reposition, which can be very helpful in some areas, particularly if enemies were in an elevated position. It basically ignores elevation as you are flying. Also looks pretty cool. That said, it will interfere with your War Priest bonus action, so be aware of that. I found I used it more in the early game, but towards the late game I didn't use it quite as much. That said, it can be great for compromising mages and archers, and it is also why Mage Slayer, the feat, is a good choice, as if you move towards a mage they tend to try and use magic to repel you, and with this If they do that, you'll get a reaction against them. And remember, if your reaction is a crit, you can trigger your Divine Smite, which can be brutal. Not much else to say here. The build is great on normal difficulty. You can hit like a truck with your Divine Smite, which can end up being 50 damage per smite 3 times a turn. And your AC with heavy armor and your use of reactions to counter spells and melee attacks, you can end up being a very sticky opponent. And with your healing available as a paladin and some of the light cleric spells, it all adds up to something very tanky. So I highly recommend this build. You take 5 levels in Paladin Oath of Vengeance, 1 Cleric War Domain and 6 in Storm Sorcerer. I suggest you use the Paladin for your first level, the Sorcerer for your second, and then go back to Paladin to get your Smite. Then you take 1 level Cleric War Domain, which will allow you an extra attack 3 times per long rest, which makes up for the delayed acquisition of the extra attack of the Paladin. Through testing, I feel it's now better to push Paladin to level 5 after you take your first Cleric. This will take you up to a total of level 7, and then after that you go back to the Sorcerer and go to max level. This way your Smites will make up for your slow process of getting to better Sorc spells, and your War Domain will give you extra attacks until you get into Act 2 and get your extra attack. Battlerager. Like with the Stormborn, there's not a huge amount changed here. Feel free to check the original video if you want the full discussion. It is all largely correct for the full release. Anyway, as noted in the intro, with due credit to viewer Roman5, I agree that you should hold off on the fighter levels until you get at least your extra attack from your Barbarian, but also possibly go to level 6 with your Berserker for the extra health and mindless rage. Act 2 has a lot of enemies that can frighten your characters, so this is useful. On the other hand, I don't suggest going to level 9 anymore with your Barbarian, as it doesn't actually give the rage damage bonus which I had assumed from the player's handbook. At least from what I can tell, it doesn't. Feel free to correct me if there is something I'm missing. Otherwise, I didn't note in the original video, but remember, Action Surge is not a bonus action, so what you can do is use it to reset your extra attack cycle so that you can get 5 attacks in a turn with Frenzied Attack. Just be aware that Frenzied Attack lowers your attack stats every time you use it until Rage ends, so try to pace it in longer battles. As for the race selection, I noted in the video, it doesn't matter as they're using the +2/+1 ability score system. That said, in the case of my testing, Karlach indicates that the Tieflings of Zariel are actually great. They get the usual dark vision as well as a few free smite abilities when not raging, which can make for some great openers. Not as much to consider as the Sorcadin given the nature of non-spell casting builds, but I will point out one item that is great for the Battlerager, and that is the Gloves of Dexterity, which increases your dexterity to 18 and gives you +1 attack. Note that that is +1 to your attack roll, which is great with your high constitution, and it means that you'll have really high AC. And since enemies love to attack barbarians as they are at the front, they become very tanky and hard to hit and will be able to wreck enemies with their many attacks. As I recall, the item I speak of is available early in Act 2 at a merchant you basically cannot miss. Anyway, the Battlerager with Karlach is a beast and easily one of the tankiest and heavy hitting builds that you can go for, and is perfect for getting up into a boss's face, disarming them or tripping them before proceeding to level tons of attacks every turn against them. And in return they are really hard to hit with their very high AC. So for a quick recap, you take Barbarian Berserker to level 5 or 6, then you take your fighter up to level 4, as we don't care for level 9 Barbarian anymore. Once Battlemaster is level 4, jump back to Barbarian and go to max level. This means you lose the level 9 Barbarian with the extra crit damage, which is nice, but I feel it's not as good as having another feat choice from your level 4 fighter. Anyway, that's it for this quick update. I just wanted to clarify a few things. I'm currently also working on a monk cleric build, so remember to like and subscribe if you're interested in more build videos. I have a ton of ideas that I'm trying out, so be on the lookout. As for my normal lore videos, apologies, I haven't released one of those in a few weeks. I've gotten caught up in Baldur's Gate 3. That said, I am currently working on the first Cyrodiil video. It may be out next week. It's about the Empire, and I have decided to split the videos as there is so much to talk about, so be on the lookout for that if you're interested. That said, remember to comment on your thoughts on these builds, but also let me know what your favourite build is currently. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please have a great day, and thanks for watching.